All right, let's talk about HTML5. So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It's a language based on XML. There's tons of XML languages, each one with its own vocabulary, applied to all sorts of uh, um, different things that we use it in different industries for describing math, for describing just data stored from records. Uh, so this is HTML is a language specifically for formatting documents that are meant to be rendered by browsers, right? And we use this syntax, lots and lots of parentheses and tags. We call them tags, these opening tags and closing tags that allows us to give us some context on how the browser should interpret this specific snippet of text, right? The simplest HTML document is just plain text, okay? And the browser will be happy to just render that, right? But it will ignore any spaces that we might have done, any underlines, any tabs, anything of formatting that we might take for granted for our visual cortex. All that will be ignored. You have to explicitly tell the browser, I want this snippet to be rendered in such and such a format. And that's what hypertext markup language is for. Some of the text allows you to make it bold, underline. Some of that allows you to associate some behaviors around it. Like if you click it, you'll navigate somewhere else. And but most of it could be just plain text with some added tags here and there to format it to look in a particular way or to act in a particular behavior. So let's get started with a really simple. The most simple HTML document is just a hello world, right? That's all there is. That only that particular content, and we can do that. Let's see. Let's use Sublime here, and let's open a directory. The directory we've been working here. Let's see, under web app, main task 2019. We can go and use our favorite IDE or text editor. Because here's Sublime, and we have the content here. Here's our initial under source, under main, under web app, right? We have our index page, right? This is our index page. So let's create another file in here. So we can say new file, and this will be index that, and here's where we put hello world. And this will, really, you don't know where to put it? Yeah, that's where I want you to do it. So I'll call it hello.html. And so here's hello. And if we want to point to it, let's see, our local server, where is it? Our local server is running right here, and we should go to hello.html. There's our hello.html, right? It's our very simplest possible HTML document. It renders it using a default. Notice that it already has a little bit of a style, right? A particular font size. It's not bolded. Notice it has a little padding on the left, a little padding from the top. So there is already some default styling. Okay, if you don't say anything, this is the default styling. But certainly you can. There's plenty of cool things that we can do to style it. A couple of things before we go on. We can add some comments. These are for us developers. These are ignored by the browser. They're not rendered, just for our purposes, so that we remember what we did last week, or maybe a couple months from now. We'll remember that what is that we were thinking. What we were thinking. Where is it? Okay, so it's ignored. There's a fully well-formed HTML document is not just only just that text. A fully formed document, HTML has a doc type, right, that helps the browser to understand what is it that it's trying to render, how to interpret the following content. It has a root HTML tag. Here's the opening tag and closing tag, just like XML. We also say that what's in between the opening and closing, we say that it's the body of the tags. And inside of the HTML tag, there's two main portions. There's the head and there's the body. Okay, we're going to be spending most of our time in the body of the HTML document. This is the actual content that gets rendered on the browser. The head instead is a meta information that can be used to reinterpret or configure or add additional behavior to the document. For instance, we can for instance configure the title, what to use in the top of the window, who the author is, when it was created. Also, if this document has any dependencies with other documents, right? For instance, here we're saying that this HTML document is actually dependent of another document called style.css, which is a style sheet which also will be loaded, right? The browser will load that CSS file and try to reinterpret this content, in the context of that style sheet. So let's grab this and let's go back to our hello, and let's paste it in here. If we I need to buy it. If we go here and refresh, oh, that wasn't it. Where's our hello? Sorry, that's not it. Which one is? I think it's this one. If we re-render, and notice that it hasn't changed. Actually, let me fix this. Here, I'm going to make it big. And where's our browser? That's our browser. Let me make that big as well. And let's join these together so we can see what we're doing. Yeah, so the left-hand side, we see that we added the title, but nothing was changed. Only what we change here, right? Will we see the change on the HTML? Also, we'll notice that we're referencing this style.css, but that style CSS doesn't exist, right? Notice that our style CSS, it's nowhere listed in our file system. So probably the browser is complaining, saying that no such file found. We can always go and inspect the document. We can say inspect, and this will open up a tool that is going to be our best friend for the rest of the semester. Right? We're going to be spending a lot of time in this tool over here. And this tool is an inspector that allows you to look at the original document that was downloaded. We can see any console errors. For instance, one of the complaints, right? Here's where the server's browser's complaining. I couldn't find style.css. There's a 404. The server said, went back to the server for this file and it doesn't exist. You can look at the source. In this case, the HTML. You can see the raw HTML that was downloaded, and the presumable style.css that I was supposed to get, but I never found. You can see exactly any network traffic that went back and forth between the browser and the server. Notice that first it went out for the hello.html. Once it parsed hello.html, it realized that it was referencing a different document, right? So it went out and fetched it, or tried to fetch it, but the server came back with a 404. There's all sorts of performance, memory, and so on and so forth. We'll be spending a lot of time here, okay? So this tool is very, very good. In the elements, we'll notice that we can see how the browser has interpreted our document. Okay, it builds this mental model, right, of whatever we typed in ASCII, right? We typed it in plain text, yes, right, but the browser parses it and it builds this hierarchical representation of our text file, right? This hierarchical representation is what we're going to refer to as the DOM, right? The document object model, right? So it creates this tree, right? This tree structure in memory, right? That represents our document, yes, right? And we're going to be spending a lot of time playing around with this DOM dynamically, right? Here, it built it by parsing the HTML document. We're going to be manipulating it using JavaScript, right? We're going to come back here and we're going to add our content, remove content, right? Manipulate the content. And whatever you do to the DOM, right, the browser reacts by re-rendering the content dynamically. Yes? Right? And that's what React does. That's what Angular does. jQuery allows us to programmatically come back and manipulate this hierarchical structure. Yes? Right? So we'll be spending a lot of time there. Also, on the right-hand side, it shows what it's referred to as the box model, right? As you highlight different parts of the content on the left, it tells you what is the styling, right? Any content that you see on the left, right? It's always represented by some rectangular area, okay? And it's telling you how is it interpreting it, right? What's rendering. So that hello world in the body says that I'm adding the default margin all around, okay? There is no border, there is no padding, right? And the content is taking up this amount of width and height, right, on the screen, okay? And you can play around with this, and as you play around this, you can see what's happening on the browser. You can also manipulate the styling here as well. You can see, what would happen if you change the margins or the colors, the foreground, background. It's a great tool to do real-time updates and see what's going on the browser, and then you can copy this and make it, permanent on your source code. Yes, all right. So yeah, this tool is you're going to be your best friend. All right, so let's keep going here. Deploying. So we did that. Well, let's see. So this just goes over some of these portions, the styles, the hello content. White spaces are ignored, right? So if you have lots and lots of content, right, and you paste it in here, and you paste it, if you re-render, notice that none of the white space were honored. Okay, us as humans, we like to add tabs, and we like to add white spaces, right, for our frontal cortex to better parse the image. Yes, but none of that is honored by perhaps in the near future, right, or using some of these markdown other versions of writing web pages. It'll be easier for our browsers to reinterpret. For now, we have to explicitly tell it how to. Oops. What? We have to tell it how to interpret all our content. So, for instance, we need to explicitly say that this is a paragraph, right? That by marking the content and saying, hey, this is a paragraph. You should interpret this content not just as plain text, but as a paragraph. So if we do that, then it re-renders and adds some white spaces around. And also, we might say that this is a header of a particular size, and this content is of particular importance, right? We want to highlight it. And anyway, there's tons and tons of these headers, tons of these elements that we'll see as we progress.
Hi everyone, Jose here. Please remember to subscribe and like the video. And if you have any questions, please leave a comment down below. Thank you.